Okay, let's do this. Should be live. Let me fix my microphone here. There we go. How's everybody doing? I apologize if it messes anybody up too much, but I did put on the stream a requirement that you have to be subscribed for at least 1 minute before you can comment. And I just did that because I just have a concern that in today's stream of all things, given what's been happening the last week or so, there might be some people who jump on just to kind of cause trouble. So they could still cause trouble after they subscribe for a minute, but seems less likely they would do so. And it's a lot easier for me to block those people if that happens. So how's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a while. It's been a quiet week on the channel, except for a couple of shorts I uploaded from Gettysburg, and there are a bunch more of those. I shot like 20 shorts on the Gettysburg battlefield. I also shot several at Shiloh that I'll be putting up. So it was mostly what I did in Gettysburg these last couple of days, besides a couple of long-form videos that I made. Mostly did shorts because I was showing my son around the battlefield. It was his first time there. So, and some of you may have seen the video of my son that I uploaded to Instagram and Facebook. Let me update you guys on what's going on with the CGP Gray thing, because I know that's what's on everybody's mind. And just I want to also clear up a few things and share a little bit more details of what that whole process looks like behind the scenes, so you can understand it a little better. Snake Venom, you must have been one of the people I met in Gettysburg, so very cool, awesome. I'm glad I got to meet you as well. It's always great to meet people out there. So, so let me just update you on some stuff. First of all, no news as far as what's happening with the appeal. For those of you who don't know, and I explained some of this on the video that I posted a week ago about this, I appealed the first of the 2 copyright strikes because the second one came right after the appeal. And in case anybody's curious, I can always post an image of the emails that I received 11 minutes apart about those. One is the email I received confirming that he had been notified of the appeal. And then 11 minutes later, I got the email letting me know that he had struck a second one. And actually, if you go into YouTube itself, it was actually 9 minutes later. But anyway, so it's actually, I should point out, it's 10 days. I may have myself said 7. It is 10, and it's 10 business days. So what happened is I appealed the copyright strike. He now has 10 business days which I think would go to the end of this upcoming week, to provide proof to YouTube of a court action that has been filed against me concerning me violating his copyright. Whether he does that or not, we'll see. I tend to doubt it, but we'll see. He's certainly got the resources to do it. He makes a ton of money. We're talking, I understand he has expenses, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in income between Patreon and YouTube ad revenue. He's bringing in millions a year, easily. As far as everything I understand of the law, it's clearly on my side. So business day would exclude weekends. That's why I think it's probably been 5 so far and probably 5 more this week. I'm guessing it's until the end of this week. If he does not file that legal action, the copyright strike will automatically drop. The video will go back up. So that's kind of where that's at. In the meantime, I did not appeal the second one yet. And I deleted the 2 other, I had 4 total. The 2 other reactions I had to his videos, I deleted them altogether. One of them had 200,000 views, one of my reactions. So I'll show you a few other things related to that, but I don't want to dwell on that for too long. Benjamin, thank you so much for that. And can I make a video ranking the U.S. presidents by most consequential foreign policy achievements? That would actually be really interesting. I will put that on my list. And please understand, when I say that, I'm not just blowing you off. I do actually keep a list in Google Docs of the suggestions that people give me that I think are really interesting, so that when I go back and I'm looking for ideas for videos, I've got that list in front of me and I refer to that list all the time when looking for ideas. So it might not happen right away, but it will happen. No, I completely deleted them because my concern, Brent, was that even making them private, that he still might be able to do a copyright strike against them. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I wasn't taking any chances, so I just deleted them completely. So they're no longer, they don't exist anymore because I don't have a copy of them sitting around somewhere. I keep copies of all of my original content, but I don't keep copies of my reaction videos. Once I upload them, I delete them from my hard drive. So I've done a few videos on Reconstruction already. I've got to finish. It was supposed to be a 3-part series, and I did the first 2, and I never did the 3rd part of it. So I need to do that. Leighton, what's going on, man? Hope you're well. I did not buy the Andersonville Penn Stockade piece. I kind of wish I had. But yeah, oh my gosh. When I talk about Gettysburg, I'm going to fill you guys in on just some of the amazing stuff that happened in the last couple of days in Gettysburg, and about the possibility of something we might be cooking up. And by we, I mean like me and JD and maybe some other folks that you're familiar with as well. So, did my daughter get her channel back? We have everything we need to be able to get it back. We just have to jump through a couple more hoops to make it happen. But yes, we're going to get it back. So yeah. I've been to Andersonville. I did a video from Andersonville a couple years ago. There are no restrictions on my channel at the moment that I am aware of. I haven't seen any. Dad Talks, thank you for that. Let me show you guys one thing. I think I'm going to live stream the coronation if it's early enough in the day, because we've got an event at our church that day. So, but let me show you guys something real quick before I get to more questions and things like that. A couple things I want to show you, first of all, because I've had a lot of people commenting, and there's been a lot on social media and things like that. And Punk Fruit, thank you. I really appreciate that. But don't be sorry for asking me to react to CGP Grey. A lot of people did. And I really think his content's great, and I enjoy reacting to it. And I'm kind of sad I won't be doing it anymore because I feel like, but anyway, so a lot of people said, well, they weren't sure if there was any malice or ill intent behind what CGP Grey did. And while I want to be very, very careful of trying to say that I understand somebody's motivation, because I don't. I just want to give you some food for thought and show you some things. First of all, I want to show you the 2 videos that he copyright struck. One was my reaction to his Does Your Flag Fail, which is a pretty new video. The other one was to a 6-year-old video that he struck about rules for rulers. So first of all, the idea that it was, it's because it was a new video. Obviously not the case, because he struck a 6-year-old video as well. But here's the thing. Do a search, CGP Grey flags reaction, and right away, there's one right there, 17,000 views. It's been up for 11 days, which means it went up around the same time mine did. Still there. Hasn't been copyright struck. Here's another. Oh, wait. He reacted to it? Oh, no, this is somebody else pretending to be him. This is CGP Grey and when, oh my gosh, okay. So that's somebody claiming to be him, I see. There's another one reacting, only 1,600 views, but again, reaction to the same video that I got copyright struck for. Another reaction to the same one that I got copyright struck for. And on and on and on. You'll see a bunch of reactions to his content on here that have not been copyright struck. Now, and Cody Donkey, thank you for that. Oberlin Wellington Rescue. Ooh, very interesting. And oh dear, thank you. Yugoslav history and World War II would be really fascinating. Not something I know a lot about. But Operations Room, how are you guys doing? And every single person in this live stream right now, if you are not subscribed to Operations Room, you are missing out on phenomenal content. About some really familiar stuff that you think you know, but they're going to show you stuff that maybe you never learned about it. One of the best channels on YouTube, without a doubt. I'm actually in Northeast Ohio. You're at Heathrow right now. We need to connect next time I'm in London. I'm hoping to be there at least one more time this year. So if you're anywhere near London, we'll connect. But let's talk. We'll definitely connect at some point. Okay. So I want to show you what this looks like for a content creator and the choices that have to be made to get to do what he did, okay? And Michael Painter, thank you for that. Yes. Hey, I remember you guys being there. That awesome. I'm so glad you guys came. I'm going to talk about that. We had such a great turnout, and I had such an amazing time hanging out with everybody at the Shiloh battlefield. Good stuff, really good stuff. It was just, I was so grateful that so many people a lot of them came from really far away too. So, hey, Silver Smurfin, I did receive the book, and I'm going to be making a video probably tomorrow opening up because I came back to a bunch more packages. So, all right, so let me show you what this looks like, okay? So there's actually a guy right now. His name is Mark Masterson, and his channel is he does Mark from the States, and he's actually reacting to my Ypres series, my original content from the Ypres battlefields. He's doing reactions to those. He's doing a great job with it. And so, of course, I get a notification of that. And I've had other people do reactions to my stuff, and I've archived those. So these are just the most recent ones. So this is what you see when you go in, you click on this tab right here where it says copyright. And this is where you see people who have used part of your content or all of your content, and it'll tell you what percentage of your video was used in their content. And then what I can do is I can click on one or all of these. And see, this is one of the things right away, right? It was very intentional because he could have easily clicked on all of the reactions that had gone up in a given day or in a given week and done them all at the exact same time. So, see, I can do all of these at once. I can click on all three of them, and now I can click on, let's say we just do one video, right? So before I do anything, I can just click on Contact Channel. And I can click on this right here. And it says, another YouTube channel noticed their content in a video you uploaded. And so it's just a notification that I can send to them that just says, hey, I noticed you used my stuff, and I just wanted to touch base with you. So that's like the lowest level, other than doing nothing, which is what I do. I just ignore it. I don't have a problem with that. Let them react to my stuff, right? I do it all the time. So that's normally what I would do, is nothing. But if I wanted to go to a little bit higher, I could touch base with them and say, hey, listen, not really a fan of what you do. I would rather you didn't use my content. Now, he's not required to listen to me because by law, you do not need a person's permission to do a reaction to their videos. That's just the way the law is. Now, ethically, morally, we can debate that. But by law, you don't need a copyright holder's permission to use their stuff if you are using it in fair use. So that's kind of the next step, right? So then the next step after that could be I can click on Request Removal, okay? Now, in this case, I've clicked on all three of them at the same time, and I can enter in my information and say it's either myself or my company, organization, or client that I'm doing this on behalf of. And recognize that I can't even do any of this unless I've gotten that information from YouTube. So it's not like somebody can pretend to be CGP Grey and do this, okay? He got the notification that the content was used. So, and I will get to you guys' questions and stuff in just a minute here. So then you have to fill out all this information about it. And now here come the removal options if you're choosing removal, okay? This is what he did. Standard. Removal request removal now. These removals can lead to a copyright strike. YouTube processes the video removal after validating the request. Then I can also choose this, which would be the next escalation that's below that one, right? Once the request is validated, YouTube gives the uploader 7 days to remove the video and avoid a copyright strike. If they don't, the video is removed after 7 days. But in the meantime, in those 7 days, that person can appeal and say, listen, I think what I'm doing is fair use. I think I have the right to do this. Here are my reasons why. And that'll get sent back to me. And I'll look at that and either say, yeah, you're right, you do have it. I'll drop it. Or I can escalate it and say, no, it's still valid. And then they can appeal a second time. And now somebody from YouTube's copyright team will actually look at that and say, okay, is this valid or not? And when it's gotten to that point, in the cases where I've had to appeal in that way, YouTube's copyright team in every single situation has come back and sent me a message that said, the takedown was invalid. We believe this to be fair use. And they removed the takedown request. That's happened every time I've had to appeal that way. So he could have done nothing. He could have contacted me and said, hey, let's touch base. Let you know what I think of this. He could have sent a scheduled removal that doesn't involve a copyright strike and given me 7 days to appeal or to remove the video or do the copyright strike. Now, I mentioned in my other video that there's also the possibility to claim that content and monetize it. Now, you'll see that in this case, I don't have the option to do that. I'm told that that is not something that's available to everybody. So it's quite possible that in CGP Gray's case, he doesn't have access to that tool. So I don't know how that works, like why some people can do that and some people can't, because I've had people claim the monetization but leave the video where it is. So I know it's possible. I just don't know how that works, and I see that I don't have the option to do that. So then you have to click on these legal agreements. It says, I understand that abuse of this tool, such as submitting removal requests for contents I do not own, may result in termination of my YouTube account. So in this case, it's not that they don't own it, but it still could be considered abuse. I have a good faith belief that the use of the material in the manner complained of is not authorized by the copyright owner, its agent, or the law. So then you fill all that out, you submit it. So those are the options that are available. In my case, I'm archiving these because I got no problem at all with what Mark's doing. I've watched a couple of his reactions and good for him. So anyway, let me get to a couple of questions real quick that I saw here. Would I be interested in watching Lamino's Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? All of his stuff's fantastic. So yeah, I would love to do some more of his content at some point. Gosh, the production quality and the research and the presentation style of his stuff it's got to be in the conversation for some of the best stuff on this platform. It's so good. His Jack the Ripper series was the best presentation on Jack the Ripper I've ever seen in a book, movie, TV show, anything. So good. Silver Blitzer, thank you for that. 11 less evil facts about Hitler. Interesting. And thank you for the prayers. I appreciate that. All right. Moose 2, thank you for that. Have I ever heard of Kinzua Bridge in Northwest PA? No, but I live really close to Northwest PA. What part of Northwest PA is that in? Why is your name VTH Gaming? Yes, I've done reactions to History March videos. Will I be able to see NSIG from Armchair Historian? I'm sure I will. And I just have to say, what I want to do an event at Lakeview Cemetery. So that would actually be really interesting. I could do a tour there because I have a video from Lakeview Cemetery. And there's so many famous graves there. That would actually be really cool to do. Excluding books about Grant, what is your favorite biography about presidents post-Lincoln? Great question. I actually just got my hands on a book that I started reading, and you're gonna see it coming up. Let me look it up so I get the title right. So there's a video, and this isn't technically about, oh no, it is about his presidency too. I had the extreme privilege, and I mean this sincerely, and you're gonna see it real soon. The privilege of spending some time with Susan Eisenhower. Was it yesterday? I guess it was yesterday. Yesterday, my son and I did. And she wrote this book that she signed a copy of for me and my son called How Ike Led, The Principles Behind Eisenhower's Biggest Decisions. Started reading it yesterday, and it's so good. And it's a real insider look, right? Because it was written by his granddaughter, who has devoted her life to studying him and who knew him up into her late teens. And I got to interview her yesterday, and you're going to see my interview with her in the next couple of days. I'll get that uploaded. She was incredibly kind and super intelligent and very complimentary and kind, and included my son in the conversation. And she asked me to she gave me her email address and asked me to email her when the video goes up so she can see it herself. And could not have been nicer, and just had a wonderful time, not only during the interview but before and after talking to her. And I'll probably connect with her more in the future because, boy, she just really gave me some really cool insights into her grandfather and how he led and how he dealt with some really delicate situations. I asked her about Patton. She shared with me a situation he dealt with a guy on his cabinet that was really fascinating, how he dealt with that as well. So that's one I'm reading right now that I'm really enjoying. Gideon, thank you for that. Yeah, I think so much of this could have been resolved, this CGP Grey thing, with just talk, right? And I know that a lot of people are talking about knowing better, and he got real involved in that. He did a stream talking about reactors, and he was posting a bunch of stuff on social media, which he then later removed. And he commented on my video and then ended up removing that as well. And I will say this. First of all, with knowing better, I've spent some time with him in person. And the day I met him, like I've mentioned this before, really early on in the conversation, he mentioned that he is not a fan of reaction videos because he found out that's what I do. And I don't agree with him with how he sees that. But I respect that he feels that way. And I respect anybody who feels that way. And so out of my respect for the fact that he doesn't value reactions, I have on many occasions had many of you request that I do reactions to his content. And I've chosen not to do that. Even though, legally, I don't need his permission to do that or his consent. But out of respect for the fact that he expressed that to me, I've chosen not to do it. If CGP Grey had just reached out to me and said, listen, not a fan of what you do, would really rather you didn't, I would have respected that. And I will respect anybody who says that. What I don't respect is the way he went about it. And I think that's what's earned him a lot of negative press, so to speak, from people, including a lot of huge history YouTube channels who I cannot thank enough for their very vocal support. I'm like Griffin, Armchair Historian, and Matt from Useful Charts, went to YouTube or went to Twitter and went out of their way to post on their accounts their support of me. And then a bunch of other folks, Operations Room, History Underground posted on Twitter as well. Operations Room, I know I'm going to leave somebody out and I'm going to feel terrible about it. Alternate History Hub, Cody, he posted on social media about it as well. Kings and Generals, they posted about it. Yarn Hub, and Matt Beat reached out to me and texted me privately about it. And just so many of my favorite channels and my favorite people who reached out to show their support. And I'm so grateful for that. I really, really am. And for all of you who have, I've been watching the stuff on social media, and I've just been liking stuff. And I've never really been that active on Twitter. I read Twitter, but I don't really post stuff too often, but I have been a little bit lately because of all of that. So, so I appreciate that big time. So it's between Mount Jewett and Smithport, just east of Allegheny National Forest. Okay. Yeah, so that's a couple hours away from me. That's not real far away. Quattro. So I can't be there that weekend because my daughter graduates high school that weekend. But I definitely want to get to the Shenandoah Valley. Would love to do a series on Jackson's Valley campaign. I think that would be really cool to do, to visit some of those sites and do that. Gideon, thank you for that. Mega projects on the Palace of Culture and Science in Poland, and Kings and Generals. Yeah, Kings and Generals, one of my favorite channels. Great stuff. So I updated everything about the CGP Grey thing about at the beginning. So if you want to go back to the beginning of the stream, you'll hear my update on where that's going on and everything, or what's going on with that. Historical sites tier list, yeah. I did one at the end of this past year. I did one of my top 10 historic sites that I visited in the last year. My degree, my major was just history, just plain history. Was secondary education focused because I was going to be a history teacher. So history, secondary education. But then I also got a associate's degree in Bible and theology. Titusville, yeah, it's only about an hour and a half away from me. Hey, JD, what's going on? I think the modern term for the avalanche of criticism for CGP Grey is ratioed. Accurate. Ozai, let me say this real quick about knowing better. Okay, yes, it's easy to say, well, he got blasted for his stuff and that's why he deleted it. But I want to give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, and here's why. A couple of times that day, when he was saying all that stuff on social media, he reached out to me privately. And we talked about some things. And he asked me a couple of questions about a few things I had said about him. I cleared that up. And then he apologized for what he said. And then later on that night, just kind of out of the blue, he sent me another message and said, listen, I understand. He said, I just hope there's no hard feelings between us. But I understand if there are on your part. Like he understood if I was upset with him for the stuff he had said. And I assured him that was not the case, that I had nothing but respect for what he does and for how he feels. And he basically told me, listen, he had had some bad experiences in the past with people who had reacted to his content. And that may have colored how he viewed me. And he wanted to apologize for that. So I want to say in his defense that he was a man about it. He came to me directly. We talked about it man to man. We respect each other. And I have nothing bad to say about knowing better because he did that. And I wish CGP Grey would do the same thing. That's all I'm asking. So how about the videos from the history guy? So I got nothing against him, but you probably won't see that because there is a bit of history between us. That is nothing negative, but it's complicated and has nothing to do with him. I don't know that CGP has actually said anything. There were people who said that there was a post by him, but I think all indications are it was fake. I don't think there's any evidence that he actually posted what people said he posted. Average CGP Grey supporter, I did see your donations. I didn't read them because there was no question. And if you're going to say something like kind of off color, I'm probably not going to read it. So come to the Brandywine Battlefield. Yeah, that's a place I need to get to. I've been there, but it's been a long time since I was there. Is that Black Rifle? No, it's actually, and I don't know how it shows up on the screen. It's Jocko Go Pink Mist, which is fantastic. And I got to be one of the first people who ever tasted this because I have an inside source whose name is the History Underground, and he gave me some in Antietam when we were there. Good site for Ohio regimental rosters. Yeah, so CivilWarData.com has all of that. It's a paid subscription, it's like $25 a year, but that's a good site for it. Fold3.com has all of the regimental, the index cards to all of the regimental rosters on it. I think there are some PDF files online that are available of books that were printed back in the 19th century with that stuff. Jacob Raleigh, come to Monocacy. Thank you for that, by the way. And yes, I want to get there. I know JD's been there with Gary Edelman. I've been there, but I didn't make any content there. Well, I view the Bayou Tapestry. I don't know if I'll get time to get there when I'm in Normandy in June, but we'll see. I'm still working on planning that whole trip out. So, Joe Leio, thank you for that. Appreciate that. I have a couple of videos in Erie, PA already, Byerly. I have a video from the Erie Cemetery. I visited like Strong Vincent's grave and a few others. Actually, that might be the only one. Yeah, I did the Erie Cemetery. That's my only one. Some great ones there. You're called VTH Gaming because you trolled someone of you doing a video about your account getting taken down. Jacob Dong, yes. Desert Eagle, thank you. More destructive to the Union, Kansas-Nebraska Act or Compromise of 1850. Ooh, both really destructive, but I'm going to say the Compromise of 1850, but it's close. Best genealogy site for your family roots. Best paid site, Ancestry.com. Best free site, FamilySearch.org. What is Epic History TV? Didn't I get a copyright strike with a manual takedown? I got a copyright strike from them once, but it was actually a third party over some of their content. It wasn't them directly. And I appealed it, and it was removed, and everything was fine. Strong Vincent was Chamberlain's brigade commander, and he's buried in Erie Cemetery. Yes, Revolutionary War battlefields, absolutely. I want to get to Kings Mountain, Cowpens. I want to cover the Southern campaign first, I think, for sure. Favorite presidential gravesite that I've visited? Ooh, there's a couple of good ones. Theodore Roosevelt's a really good one. I liked Calvin Coolidge's gravesite. It's pretty neat. In a neat spot in rural Vermont. That one I liked a lot, too. The History Chap is one I need to check out. You guys are getting ads? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't add any ads to this, but it's probably... I do still have the 2 React videos that have been copyright struck. They're still there, and they'll go live again once the appeal... I've only appealed the first one, but once the first appeal is done, I'll appeal the second one. Since when is there ads on live streams? That's a great question. Let me go check my settings and see if I can turn those off. There we go. All right. It was set to automatically place mid-roll ads during the stream, so I turned that off. All right, you guys shouldn't get any more ads during the stream itself. Thoughts on discussing Civil War music? Actually, that'd be really cool, Simple Travel. I like that, and thank you. Kanbei. What do I think would have happened had Chamberlain remained prime minister after the Norwegian campaign? I don't know. I feel like Chamberlain wouldn't have been Churchill, but I don't think he would have been a complete disaster either. Probably more likely of a negotiated settlement, but I think Chamberlain, I don't know. That's something we should probably talk about more in detail at some point, but I don't see a situation where Chamberlain remains prime minister in that situation, but am I a fan of James K. Polk? Yes, I am. EA Space, thank you. Appreciate that. Love your country. Poland is amazing. Cannot wait to get there someday. Jake Brown Collection, thank you. You're hoping to send me a Portsmouth FC shirt that honors the Pompey Pals battalions. That would be phenomenal, and I would absolutely treasure something like that, Jake. That would be really, really cool. Why am I not talking about the situations in Eastern Europe? Because I don't typically talk about modern events. Chamberlain died soon after. That's a great point, Steve Clark. Kyle Wilson, thank you. I've not been to Fort Stevens in Oregon. Really cool. I should check it out. John Adams is buried in Quincy. He and his wife and his son, John Quincy Adams, and his wife are under the church. They're in a crypt below the church that they attended there. So it's interesting. When you go to that church, they've got like pride flags flying outside and stuff. It's really easy to notice where it is when you get there. Dan Hankins, thank you. The last stand of the Tin Can Sailors, a.k.a. the Battle off Samar. Yes, that is definitely something that we should talk about. A Florida meetup. If I ever have a good reason to go to Florida, we can definitely do something like that. All right, let me, real quick, let me talk a little bit about the trips that I just recently took, because that's the main reason I haven't been posting a lot of content the last couple weeks. I went to Shiloh, and then I had a real quick trip to West Virginia, where I spoke in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, at a school there. And then I turned right around and had my grandmother's funeral, and then went to Gettysburg. So I haven't been home much the last couple of weeks. So daily content coming back. I got to take my mom back to the airport tomorrow morning. But then I'll be able to get back to making daily content. Went to the Shiloh battlefield. I think we're going to have 7 videos worth of content from Shiloh. There's going to be an intro video where I kind of talk about what led to the Battle of Shiloh. I'll show you Pittsburgh Landing. I'll show you the Shiloh church where some of Sherman's troops were camped out. We'll do some background on all of Grant's 6 division commanders and on the 4 corps commanders in the Confederate Army and what was happening and the steps moving up to the battle itself. That'll be episode 1. And then the other episodes, we're going to do an episode about the early stages of the battle. We'll go and look at the field down here where the battle began, down right in this area here. So this is where the battle began, in this field right here, between skirmishers from the 25th Missouri and Mississippi skirmishers who were out in front of the advance of the Confederate Army. We'll cover some of the early fighting that took place, including Colonel Peabody and his stand before he was killed, things like that. We are going to do a video about the Hornet's Nest, about the events surrounding the Hornet's Nest, kind of clear up some misconceptions about that. We'll talk about W.H.L. Wallace and his mortal wounding and what happened with him in the days after he was wounded until he died. So that'll be an episode. We're going to do a video about General Johnston being mortally wounded and show you where that happened and what all took place in the events leading up to and following that. Going to do one about a last stand by some Union troops over here on the left flank of the Union Army. That'll be a video. We're going to do a video about Sherman and the fighting around Shiloh Church. And then I know that I'm missing at least one more on top of that, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. Oh, and then we'll do a video about the aftermath, the dead, and what happened with the dead, and all the different places where they were buried. And we'll look at some of the Confederate burial trenches that are still out there on the battlefield, and talk about some of that. So those are some of the things that you can expect from that Shiloh series that is coming up. And I learned a ton about Shiloh, and we had like 20 people that showed up. We had somebody from Delaware that was there, people from Illinois who drove 10 hours to be there for our tour. And then we went and had dinner, a bunch of us at Hagee's Catfish Hotel up here. And they were with me while I flew my drone into like 50-mile-an-hour winds to try and get some shots. I got some good shots of the National Cemetery, but that was about as brave as I was willing to get because of how windy it was with my drone. So that's what you'll see coming from Shiloh. So then this week we were in Gettysburg, and I was in Gettysburg primarily because I was invited there by Andrew Dalton, who is the executive director of a brand new museum that just opened this weekend. It's called Gettysburg Beyond the Battle, and it's hosted by the Adams County Historical Society. Gettysburg is the county seat of Adams County. If you're familiar with Tim Smith, who might be the smartest guy on the planet when it comes to Gettysburg and its history, not just the battle, but the town itself. He's the Adams County historian, and he's kind of the main mover behind that museum. So the way Tim described it, and you'll see him in my video, I talked to him, and he showed me and my son around the museum. He said about a third of it deals with Gettysburg's history before the battle, all the way back to prehistoric times. A third of it deals with the battle and the civilian populace, and there's some really cool experiences related to the civilian experience during the battle that you'll get to see a little bit of in my video from that. And then about a third of it deals with after the battle, all the way up to Eisenhower, who lived in Gettysburg even before he was stationed in Gettysburg during the First World War at Camp Colt. But then he actually bought a house there right before he got elected president, and then lived there in the years after he was elected president. So it covers all of that. And as part of all of that, that was how I got to meet and interview Susan Eisenhower. Jeff Shera was there, and I was supposed to interview and spend some time with him. And our time together was scheduled between 12 and 12:30. Well, my son and I, we went to another event early that morning, and we were on our way there at like 11:30, and I got an email from Andrew saying, "Are you here? Are you here? Jeff's got to leave early, and I'm trying to find you. He's got about 15 minutes." But we weren't there yet, so we didn't get the opportunity to sit down with Jeff and interview him. Jeff wrote Gods and Generals. His father, Michael, wrote The Killer Angels, which is the book that the movie Gettysburg is based on. Excuse me. And he's written a bunch of other books since then that are really, really good. So I didn't get to do that, but we'll do it another time. But got to spend some time with our friend Gary Edelman, who was there. He was doing some book signings and did a phenomenal presentation on photography at Gettysburg, which I think was live streamed, and some of you may have actually seen it. It was really good, and you'll see some highlights of all of that. You'll get to see the entirety of Susan Eisenhower's presentation that she did about her grandfather. I recorded the whole thing. We got to sit right in the front row for that, and then, of course, my interview, which will be going up pretty soon. So we got to do all of that, plus Eli and I made a bunch of shorts on the battlefield, and I do want to get back at some point. Specifically, I'm wanting to do some videos about Culp's Hill and about the wheat field. I want to cover some areas that maybe I haven't covered before in videos about Gettysburg. So let me catch up on some things here. Ken, thank you for joining as a member. Appreciate that. And for those of you who are patrons and members, we will be getting back to early access to videos this week. Now that I'm back, I'll be recording a couple days in advance, so you'll get to see those a day early. And then, Brandon, thank you for that. And yes, I would definitely be interested in doing some Christian history here in the near future. So let me catch my breath here and get caught up on some questions. I apologize if I haven't seen your questions. Hello from Scotland. Very cool. I have not seen War History on YouTube. I'll have to check that out. Any good Sicily battlefields? I'm sure there are. I've never been there personally. Do I like Pepsi Max? Yeah, it's not bad. The wheat field, it's one of those areas, and I know for JD, the History Underground, I think it's his personal favorite part of the battlefield is the wheat field. Yeah, the useful chart stuff is really, really good. Taco Bowler, you're right. He's got some really good Christian history stuff out lately. John Reedy, I don't know about before the 160th, but yes, going to be there for the 160th. And there, we're talking about some meetup, presentation, get-together type stuff during the 160th for me and maybe some other channels. Really early stages of just kind of talking about that, so I can't say more than that at the moment, but I'll definitely be there. Just a matter of, will I just be there hanging out, or will I be actually doing something? But we're working on that. So if nothing else, if you come for the 160th, I'll be around, along with thousands of other people, but I'll be around. There was a lot of people there this week when I was there. Sparky, fellow Ohioan, thank you. I have not visited Mott's Military Museum. I'll have to check that out. Did I talk about prayer while you were gone? No, I don't believe I did, history theorists. Napoleon's earlier campaign in Italy. Yeah, we'll cover that at some point for sure. Culp's Hill is absolutely an underappreciated part of the battlefield, and that's one of the reasons why I want to do that. And Gary Edelman was saying yesterday that seems like Culp's Hill is getting some more love this year now that people can't go on Little Round Top because it's closed right now. And it's closed for like 18 months. So people are paying more attention to other parts because Little Round Top's kind of one of the go-to areas for most people. So more people are paying attention to places like Culp's Hill. Culp's Hill is the only part of the Gettysburg battlefield that saw significant fighting all 3 days of the battle. And get this, I did not know this. I learned this a couple days ago, and I will definitely be using this in a video. It's estimated there were around 5 million rounds of ammunition fired during the battle. 5 million rounds of ammunition. 20% of which were fired at Culp's Hill in one 7-hour battle. At Culp's Hill in one 7-hour battle, 1 million rounds fired. 1/5 of all the rounds. When you consider all the fighting that took place at the wheat field, Little Round Top, Pickett's Charge, the first day west of town, all of those places, and yet 1/5 of all the rounds fired during the battle were fired at Culp's Hill by a handful of brigades on each side. And you also have George Sears Green, which is such a cool character. He's like this old man on the battlefield. He graduated from West Point in the 1820s. And he's in his 60s leading a brigade. But he's an engineer. And he builds these incredible fortifications up on Culp's Hill. And it's such an underrated part of the battlefield for sure. Little Round Top's closed for renovation. They're building some new paths. They're trying to it gets a lot of foot traffic, and so it just needs some kind of TLC, so to speak. I've not been to Manila American Cemetery. I've never been to the Philippines. Furthest west I have ever been is Hawaii. Favorite Star Wars character? Ooh, good question. Han Solo. Got to be Han Solo. It was PragerU. No, somebody in the chat was talking about PragerU. I was not personally talking about PragerU. By the way, you know who has videos on PragerU is Gary Edelman. Just saying. I saw those there the other day. I never really watched PragerU, but for some reason it got recommended to me on YouTube. So, Cody, I appreciate that. And honestly, I'm very confident that I'm in the right on the copyright situation, and I've been blown away by the support, especially from the YouTube community, the history community. Folks who have come out to support me, but from everybody. It's just been so great, and I'm grateful for all of it. Belisarius would be an interesting one to do. I haven't seen Seven Kings Must Die yet. I'm telling you, I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. I got home. We left Gettysburg at 6:30 last night, stopped for dinner in Chambersburg, and then after we stopped for dinner in Chambersburg, I drove the whole 4 hours straight through with like a 5-minute break to go to the bathroom. Got home at 11 o'clock, got up at 7 this morning to go to church. After church, we took my mom out to eat, and then my mom and I went to the cemetery to visit my grandma's grave, did a few other things. I dropped her off, got here at about 4 o'clock. This is the longest that I have sat still, I think, for weeks. So, and then tomorrow morning, I got to get up at 6 a.m. to take my mom, I got to pick my mom up at 6 a.m. and take her to the airport. So another long day tomorrow. But yeah, I need to watch that. Yeah, so we're still sitting here with this Shiloh map up on the screen. I don't know why, but that's just what's up here. Mr. Beat did do like 7 hours on PragerU. Matt's much more willing to dive into those controversial type topics than I am. And I give him all the credit in the world for that. He can handle it. He's confident in his own skin. So why do I drink sideways? That is a fantastic question. I think it's because I have a big nose and it gets in the way a little bit, right? I probably don't need to. I just do for some reason. It's one of those, we all have those weird, like, eccentric quirks that we have. For me, one of them is I unknowingly leave about 5% of a drink in a cup or a can and don't even realize that I do it, but I always do it. And it's not something I'm ever conscious of that I do, but I just do it. From Chambersburg to where I live in Ohio. Yeah, actually, it's about 3.5 hours from Chambersburg to Ohio. It's just another 25 minutes into Ohio to get to my house. Yes, all of my live streams stay up on YouTube. So yeah, any of these streams that I do, they stay up for people to watch afterwards. Cody, take care. Good. Thanks again for coming out to Shiloh. Enjoyed meeting you. Heading to Gettysburg on the way to DC for a school trip, yeah. Do I get a lot of finish your drink? Yeah, typically from my wife. Where in Ohio do I live? I live real close to Youngstown, Ohio. So I'm about 8 miles from Pennsylvania and about 30 minutes from West Virginia. You're a descendant of Benjamin Prentice. Awesome. Prentice, here's one of the fun facts about the generals at Shiloh on the Union side, right? And I cover this in the first video that I'll do from the battlefield. Grant had 6 division commanders at Shiloh. 5 of them were political generals. Only one of his 6 division commanders was a West Pointer, and that was Sherman. The other 5 were political guys. Some of them had some military experience. So Lew Wallace, for example, was a political appointee, but he did have experience in the Mexican War, which is something that Sherman didn't have. Sherman was a West Pointer, but he wasn't in the war in Mexico. He was stationed out in California during all of that. So Prentice, Lew Wallace, W.H.L. Wallace, McClernand, and who am I forgetting? Hurlbut. All political generals. And there's a reason why most of those guys are not in high command by the end of the war. I mean, Wallace is killed, but most of those other guys, they're gone because the cream of the crop starts to rise up, right? And you start to see more and more West Pointers kind of rising up to corps and division level command in many cases. Fort Worth, if I get back to Texas, I will definitely have to think about that. Salem witch trials would be something I'd love to talk about at some point. What underrated time period should every amateur historian check out? World War I. Hopefully it's at 2% right now, someone said. It's still at about right here. I got a few more sips in there. Hello from Australia. Very cool. Hello back. Once Grant was born, the CSA was already doomed. I'm going to, at some point, I'm going to probably do just for the memes and just because it's something that, listen, everybody knows that I talk about being from Ohio all the time and how much listen, there's a lot of things that suck about Ohio, but you're not allowed to say it. Only we can say that. It's like, somebody picks on your brother, right? It's okay if you make fun of your brother, but if somebody else makes fun of your brother, they're going to hear about it from you. Same thing. You will hear me brag about Ohio, but I recognize we got a lot of negatives too. But I might just for the fun of it sometime do like my top 20 people from Ohio or some kind of ridiculous video like that. William Cosgrove, thank you. I appreciate that. History buffs. I don't know if I would do history buffs, and here's why. I feel like his videos are already kind of reaction videos, right? I feel like a lot of what I do kind of overlaps with what he does, and I just don't know if I would have a lot of value to add, and that's kind of a prerequisite for me. If I don't feel like I can add something substantive to the conversation, or if I would just be repeating him the whole time, probably not worth it. Dathan, appreciate that. Yeah, the quality's not the best, but we do live stream our services. It's Salimeville Church of Christ is the name of the church. Today's live stream didn't go up because we were having some internet troubles at the church. But we do live stream the services, but I don't have like the mic tied into the sound system or anything because it's a small church, so I don't even wear a mic when I'm preaching. So it doesn't pick up real well, so you can hear it, but it's not the best quality. So it's Salineville, Salineville, Church of Christ. The Blue Max show in York County in September. Interesting. Very cool. Why the heck KGB is here? The KGB. Nice. A complete history of Ohio video. The Isle of Man. I'd love to come to the Isle of Man. Anytime I can come to the UK is a good day. Until Eisenhower, Grant was the last Republican to win 2 landslides in a row. I guess it depends on how you define landslide. But yeah, I suppose that's fairly true. I mean, McKinley won 2 terms, but not necessarily landslides. I have been to Minnesota several times. Have I ever been to Minnesota? Yeah, Albert Santos, thank you. Tasting History. I am subscribed to them. I'll have to keep that in mind. I need to get back to the Pacific Northwest. D-Day at Conneaut Lake. People keep inviting me to that. That's only like a little over an hour away from me. I need to check that out. And by the way, I mentioned earlier about Susan Eisenhower. She asked me when my next big trip to Europe was because we were talking about all that. And I said, well, I'm going to Normandy in June. And she said, oh, when? And I told her the dates. And she said, oh, I'll see you there because she's going to be there. And she was like, and we had some great conversations, things that she specifically asked me not to repeat. So I'm sorry I can't repeat them. But they're things I had heard before from other people that I know who were there. Some phenomenal stories about the Easy Company veterans at the Band of Brothers premiere in Normandy because they were there for like a week. and HBO basically gave them a blank check to do whatever they want and drink whatever they want and eat whatever they want. And Susan was there for part of that, and she told me some things I can't repeat about her experience. It was all in good fun. It was something we laughed about, but there were things I've heard from some of the actors in Band of Brothers told me the exact same stuff. So I told her, I'm like, yeah, I know, I've heard that. So it was pretty cool. I'm doing well, Puka. Thank you for asking. Never come to the Forest of Dean, UK. I'll come to the Forest of Dean in the UK. I've said instead. Yeah, if you missed what I said about the whole CGP Grey thing, it's at the very beginning of the stream. You can either rewind and watch it now, or later on when the stream goes live, you'll be able to watch that stuff then. So, I follow the stuff in the Ukraine a little bit. I don't watch a lot of national and world news. I just find it's too depressing. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people, and I'm doing two things I would normally never in my life do, because listen, I am an outgoing person and everybody recognizes that. I've been in public speaking roles my entire adult life. I've performed in music and stuff like that my entire life. But I am an introvert, which means that being around a lot of people for a long period of time is very draining to me. So I like to get my kind of quiet time back at the hotel afterwards. So going to Normandy right around the anniversary of D-Day, and then going to Gettysburg for the 160th, that is going to be a lot of people in the span of about a month for me. And I'm not necessarily looking forward to that. But no, and please, don't let that give you the impression that I'm kind of one of those people who doesn't want you to come up and talk to me, right? I've had people tell me, oh, I saw you, at the mall, but I didn't want to bug you. Things like that. Please don't ever, ever, ever think that. If you see me somewhere on a battlefield, at a historic site, at the store, at Walmart, and you want to come say hi, come say hi. I love meeting people. I love getting to interact. I love hearing your stories. Got to meet some people yesterday. A couple people walked up to me while I was playing chess with my son. He needed a break. We were sitting down playing chess. And a couple people walked up to me wearing History Underground shirts, and I gave them a hard time telling them they needed to get better merch. Did a selfie with them, but they gave me a hug, and it was all good. And it's all in good fun. JD's got phenomenal merch, and I've got one of his shirts too. I need to get a red one, though. I want a red shirt, a History Underground shirt. But I love that stuff. I really, really do. So please never think that you are in any way, shape, or form an annoyance if you see me somewhere and want to come say hi. I'm fine with people, and I tend to, and I'm, like I said, I'm very outgoing. It's just that when the time comes, I need a break. And sometimes I'll go off on my own and sit and just kind of rest for a little while. Favorite Civil War general? Grant. So I'm not planning on streaming too long here. I just kind of wanted to catch you guys up on that stuff. And I wanted to be able to touch base with everybody because I haven't made any videos for a while. And I felt like this was the best way to do that, was just to do a stream and kind of catch up. I have not been to Denmark. So the European countries I've been to: Scotland, England, France, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands. Is that everything? Yeah, that's all of them. Favorite place in the UK so far that I've been: the Highlands, Scottish Highlands, Skye, the Isle of Skye. Oh, so cool, so great. I did like Germany. I want to spend more time in Germany than I have so far. I haven't done any research into the Patrick Henry family. I've been to the Western Front. Yeah, my first trip to Europe was to France, to the battlefields of the Western Front. Got a whole series, 17 videos from the Western Front so far. Definitely want to go to Ireland. They just started direct flights from Cleveland to, I think, Belfast. Might be Dublin. I don't remember which. Funky Fudge, thank you. I appreciate that. All of my streams stay live on the channel, so absolutely. I've not been to Oxford or Cambridge, but definitely want to go to both. If the King's coronation is early enough in the morning, which I think it will be here, I will be live streaming it, yes. The Iron Brigade was mostly from Wisconsin. 60% from Wisconsin. 2nd, 6th, 7th Wisconsin, 19th Indiana, 24th Michigan. Steve, yes, I did, and I need to do this publicly because I made the video the other day showing the latest stuff people had sent to me, and I mentioned getting this book on the Manchester Scottish, which I highly expect is going to lead to a video series of me going and retracing their steps and using this as my primary source material to do that the next time I'm on the Western Front. But Steve was the one who sent that to me, so thank you, Steve, for that. I've really been enjoying that, and holy cow, guys, I'm getting like 6 or 8 packages a week from people right now. So it's been overwhelming, but it's been awesome, and I've gotten some more really cool stuff in the last couple of days. So I'll be doing another video showing that here real soon. Where am I going to Europe in June? Okay, so it's still, I haven't nailed down the exact itinerary yet, but here's what I know. My daughter's going to be with me, flying into London, probably spending one night in London, a little bit of the next day. We're going to take the Eurostar to Paris, and probably a day or two in Paris to see some sights with my daughter, maybe do a little bit of historic site content from the city. Then we're going to head to Normandy for the 2-day Normandy tour. And that brings me to something else I did not mention about my trip to Gettysburg. And the reason I thought of it is because Eric Dorr is going to be on the Normandy tour with us. Eric Dorr is going to be there. JD's going to be there, History Underground. My friend Sander from Sander VK History is going to be there. I believe Sarah, the history chick, is going to be there. But also Matt Settle, who portrayed Spears in Band of Brothers, is going to be with us for that trip. So excited to meet him. I imagine there will be a lot of people posing for pictures with him handing us cigarettes. It just feels like the thing that's going to happen. But we'll be in Normandy for 2 days. Paul Woodage is our tour guide. If you're not familiar with World War II TV, second to none, man. This guy knows his stuff. Paul and I have talked about this, and he said, some people know a little bit about everything. That's kind of me, with the exception of the Civil War and maybe a little bit World War I. And then other people know a lot about one thing, and that's Paul with Normandy. He's one of those knows a lot about one thing guys. And so he's our tour guide for that. So we've had great tour guides. Reg Johns, who did our tours in Belgium. Joris, who did our tour in the Netherlands, was phenomenal as well. So excited to do all that. And then the plan is probably a couple of days back at the Somme battlefield, revisiting the Somme, doing some more content there. I have seen Generation War. Fantastic. Really like Generation War. I'll have to email Indy and ask him about that, Thomas, but I would guess that he is going to be in Normandy. I believe, though, that their weekly stuff about Normandy's already been filmed. I think they did that this past year, but I could be wrong about that. I have been to Jamestown. I've never been to Stonehenge, so I couldn't tell you. My next reaction series, don't know. I'm going to put that one up for a vote for our members and patrons, because I haven't done a vote on for members and Patreon for a while. So I'm going to be putting something up about that. I haven't been to Waterloo, but I've been within 10 minutes of the Waterloo battlefield. Thought about going there, just ran out of time. Next time I go to Belgium, definitely going to go to Waterloo. Kieran, I think I remembered him telling me they were going to D-Day to film that, because we were talking about connecting if I was there, but I wasn't there during that time. Stephen, please, I'm always looking for recommendations. And have I met Mr. Beat in person? Not only met, but spent several days with Mr. Beat. Great guy. Got to spend time with him and his wife, Shannon, who's amazing as well. We played Cards Against Humanity together, and that was a ton of fun. It was me and my wife, Mr. Beat and his wife. Will from the channel Canubis was there. Jarrett from Genia Vlogger. Cypher, the cynical historian, who's now Dr. Cypher, by the way. Congratulations to Joe for that. His name's Joe. he was there. I think he played with us as well. And I'm probably missing somebody, but we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I'm sure we're going to get together again at some point and hang out and do some more stuff together. Matt and I see the world very differently, but we get along so well. And we text each other all the time. He's always commenting about videos of mine, and I'm always commenting on stuff that he does. And love seeing his success. He's going to hit 1 million subscribers probably in the next few months. JD's probably going to hit 1 million subscribers this year the way he's growing right now. We'll do some more GeoGuessr live streams for sure. So guys, it's been a really, really long day. I haven't had a chance to rest. I apologize. I'm going to cut this short. I just need a little downtime. I hope you understand. But regular content coming back tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a few more streams this week if I can. But thank you guys so much to everybody who donated. Everybody who has been so supportive of the channel, and I'll see you guys again real soon.